Satyam Jnanam Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda Jyotir Aravinda. So if you're watching a movie and supposing hypothetically you're actor in the movie, okay, you're an actor in the movie, and imagine that that actor in the movie is not just a light projection but a real person. So suppose the actor is in a very sticky kind of situation in the movie and he doesn't like it and he wants to change the script. When can he actually change the script?
When the director agrees.
When he has access to the director, right? Because the only one who can change the script of the movie is the director or the script writer, the ones behind the scene. So if the actor gets access to the director or the script writer, then he can change his part. But otherwise he's stuck in the matrix of the movie, right? Whatever the script is, he has to pan this out. So in the metaphor, of course it's obvious, the actor is us, the director or the script writer is the higher intelligence, which is kind of maneuvering and controlling the script. But a movie is, that's where the metaphor diverges, is the movie is made for entertainment. So for entertainment it can have a tragic ending also because it's just for entertainment. But the movie of our life is about evolution, and the director doesn't make the movie for our entertainment. He makes it for our growth and for our highest good. So even if we don't have control over the script of the movie, the one who's scripting the movie has absolute control, and at every moment it will be scripted to bring out the best colors in the actor of the movie. And that's the faith we need to have even in our darkest moments, that even in our most confused moments when we don't know what lies ahead, even in our darkest moments when we feel most let down by life, by circumstances, by people, just to constantly remember that the one who's regulating the flow of the movie has ultimate control and is maneuvering the whole movie to take each actor to their optimum and to their best. Yeah? Any questions about this before we continue? So we come to our PDF. Karen Miller's words. Each of us walks along a path with no sign of where we've been and no knowledge of where we'll end up. The earth rises to meet the soles of our feet, and out of nowhere comes a gift to support and sustain our awareness, which is our life. So each of us walks along a path with no sign of where we've been and no knowledge of where we'll end up, and that's scary for most of us. We don't know really where we've come from, we don't know where we are going, and it's scary for us. But the earth rises to meet the soles of our feet, and out of nowhere comes a gift to support and sustain our awareness. That's the way we walk, right? The earth rises to meet us, and out of nowhere comes the gift of support and sustains our awareness. Some days the gift is a bite, and some days it's a banquet. The earth that supports us, some days it gives us a meager morsel, some days it's a banquet. Either way, it's enough. Either way, it's what you need. The day you need a bite, you'll get a bite. The day you need a banquet, you'll get a banquet. So there is a beautiful story that there was a sage, and that sage had a group of disciples, and they used to go village to village, and wherever they went, they lived on the mercy of the villagers at night to give them a place to sleep and their food. So they went to one village where the villagers had really heard a lot about this group, and they showered them with goodies to eat, gave them a beautiful place, comfortable place to sleep. And every evening before sleeping, the sage would gather his disciples and they would all say a prayer. So the sage says, "Thank you, God, for the abundance of kindness and food that you gave us today," and they all touch the earth. Next day they set off again because they kept walking, and by evening they came to another village which was very hostile. The villagers had an angst against sadhus and pilgrims and hurled all kinds of abuse on them, refused to give them anything to eat, and the group had to retire to the forest, sleep on the rough ground without any food. And it was time to do the prayer. So before sleeping, the sage again gathered his disciples and said, "Oh God, thank you today for the abundance of abuse that you gave us." So, and he wasn't being sarcastic, So the disciples asked him, "Master, how come you're saying this?" So the master said that yesterday our need was kindness. So kindness was given to us in abundance. Today our need must be abuse, so abuse was given to us in abundance. So that's what this line is saying. Some days the gift is a bite, and some days it's a banquet. Either way, it's enough. It's exactly what you need. Can you give yourself totally to the reality of your life and its unknowable outcome? When you do, the questions of where, when, how, and if will no longer trouble you. You might feel instead the ecstatic certainty of having arrived. In a certain sense, you could say that the Buddha was homeless. He made a home wherever he went. So whatever came his way, the Buddha was fine with it, whether it was a bite, whether it was a banquet. So he wasn't fixed to a certain idea of what happiness is. Whatever life brought his way, he accepted it as the need of his moment. See, we have a lot of fixed ideas of what happiness is, right? And when life goes in a way that it doesn't meet that fixed idea of happiness, we become unhappy. But can we be sure that our fixed idea of happiness is the correct idea? For example, it's very important for many of us to be the best, best at our work, or most loved by a person close to us. And so long as that condition is met, I'm most loved by this person, or I'm best at whatever I do, I'm secure, I'm happy, I'm comfortable. But will that condition endure? That's the question. Will life allow? For example, let's take this. My security is, and I'm most loved by person A. And so long as person A loves me more than anyone else, I'm secure. We can all relate to this, yeah? But can you guarantee that for the rest of your life this condition will be met? That for the rest of your life A will love you the most? You can't. Everything in life is changing, you are changing. At some point you may not love A the most. At some point A may have other things in her or his life and may love other things the most. So to fix your happiness in that condition, it's asking for future misery, right? So it's not, so suppose life takes you to a point where A has loved you the most for 10 years of your life, and the 11th year you discover that A loves somebody else the most. So is life being unfair to you? Is that power, that higher control that's protecting everything, is it taking away the ground below your feet? No. It's giving you an opportunity to see a truth that stares in our face all our lives, the truth of impermanence, the truth of the fact that everything in life will change except the one unchangeable, which is the director, which is who you are in your deepest. If you are attached to that, you won't be let down, because that's the one permanent thing in your life. But if you are attached to things that by their nature are changing, of course you'll be unhappy, because things will change whether you like it or not. Which is why there's great merit in that line from Rudyard Kipling's poem, If all men count with you but none too much. Don't make any one or two people count too much, because then that's a recipe for future pain. Be kind to everyone, but don't make any one person the center of your life or the source of your happiness. The source of your happiness has to always be inside you, inside the truth of what you are. Yeah? Any questions? Anything to share? Yes?
Does that mean even your own parents and children and your partner? Does that mean that as well?
So the question is, does that include parents, children, spouse, father, everyone? I would say yes, because it's not that parents, children, spouse, whoever won't let you down. At some point, everyone lets you down. And Mother said this beautifully, that I can write it down, that every human being will let you down at one point or the other, because no human being can be there for you as you want them to. Only the divine is for you if you are for the divine. And suppose, coming back to that quest, but that doesn't mean you're defensive and cut away. You love human beings with their imperfections as they are. You allow their imperfect nature to be. I'm imperfect, everyone's imperfect, we are all growing perfection. So it doesn't mean we say you're not going to be there for me, you're going to let me down, so I'm anyway going to cut away from you. That is a dry, meaningless existence. If you hurt me, cool, I'll deal with it when you hurt me. But right now you're there for me, I'm going to love you, but I'm going to try and love you without attachment. It's attachment that creates all the problems, not love in itself. You can love people the best when you're not attached to them. So, yeah. So, if you're very attached to A and for 10 years of your life, A has loved you more than anyone else, 11th year somebody else comes into A's life and you get a lot of pain. Why is life sending you that pain? If we are saying there's a meaning in every curve and line, then what could be the possible meaning for this pain to come into your life? Has anyone ever experienced that and experientially discovered the meaning in it? Yes?
Attachment won't let you grow as a human being, because you'll be limiting everything.
Can you please be?
I'll be loud.
You weren't loud last time, I heard it.
So I'll be louder.
Okay.
It's that your attachment will keep you holding on to that person, and you will not do anything that the person may or may not want, because you'll be bound to them in your mind, and you will bind yourself to their opinions and views also.
Yes.
So it's a two-way street.
The attachment will limit you, and when this circumstance will force the attachment to break, and it will give you a chance to know that you are whole and complete even without that attachment. You feel you can't exist without that, and that is your limitation. So in taking that person away and you finally landing on your feet, life is giving you a chance to discover that you have yourself, and that's enough. You can enjoy and love people around you, but you don't need them. And every time life gives you pain, it's a chance to discover this, that besides yourself, you don't really need anyone. And in the final analysis, each of us is alone in our walk in life. See, understand one thing, we all have, say we have that 4 o'clock friend, whenever we are upset, I can call anyone at 4 a.m. and all, it's fine. But sooner or later we'll all discover that when we really are sitting with our pain, nobody outside can reach that pain the way you can. Haven't you discovered that? Even the best meaning people can't travel with you into your really hurting spots. And then we feel, nobody is with me, why are people not? But they can't be, they are not designed to be. Only you can reach yourself in that place and solace yourself if you have the patience to sit with yourself. The design is such that actually nobody else can. I'm open to debate this. If you have questions or thoughts to share about this, yes? Can you speak into the mic, please?
I was just thinking about how you can implement this practically into your life, because ultimately psychology and other fields say that the human relationship is the most important thing in terms of health and everything, you know, like connection, human connection.
I'm not saying they are wrong.
So how do you practically, like, you know this in your mind that attachment isn't great, but then how do you implement that?
So the psychological premise about relationships bringing color, vitality, joy, health into your life is correct. But every other relationship depends on one relationship, your relationship with yourself. So if in trying to build or keep relationships outside, you're losing yourself, then no other relationship outside can work, no? So to practically implement this is to first build a good relationship with yourself, to really be happy in your own company. See, when are you needy of other people's company? When you're not happy in your own company. You want to distract yourself from the misery of being with yourself, so you keep looking for others. But if you work on yourself so that you can be happy in your own company, you won't need others, but you'll still enjoy others, you'll still connect with others, you'll still love others, but you won't need them. So don't keep relationships at the cost of losing yourself in them, because any relationship that makes you lose your relationship with yourself is not worth keeping in that way. Either you need to change that relationship or walk away, but not something. Are you getting, have I answered your question?
Yeah.
So do things where you can be happy with yourself. For example, learn to do things alone. Once in a way, go for a movie alone. When you go for a walk, unplug. Don't all the time have the company of music to distract you from yourself. Just be with yourself, be with your senses, your sights. things around you that stimulate your curiosity. Learn to really enjoy being what you are. To that extent, you won't be so dependent on others. Yes? Yes?
Very liberating.
One sec. Can you? Because really, when I hear the recording, none of you can be heard.
I just want to say it's very liberating, and you feel free when you're not attached and you're, in your own. You feel that kind of freedom. So it's a lovely feeling to not be dependent. Yeah.
I was just looking at it from another perspective. Instead of just being isolated, if you look at everyone, not choose the person that you want to be with, that kind of, I think, makes it the realize, you're being with yourself on a broader level.
So to be happy in the moment is what you're saying.
I'm saying that not choose the person for relationships, but be happy with whoever comes your way or whoever is there at that moment, and do it with that person. In that way, you get your, you interact with people and you're not choosing. So you're not really building a relationship with, that if I don't get this person, I'll be unhappy.
If you can do it, great. But that's ideal. Ideal is if you're so happy with yourself that whoever comes along is a bonus. You're not waiting for the company to stimulate you or make you happy. You're already happy, and whoever comes, I'm interacting with as is.
But when you say self, do we really mean the true divine within? Because then it can easily be the ego, and again that is.
But Kurush, it's important to first cultivate a healthy ego also, na? Individualization is important. Then you can go beyond it. See, a broken, low self-worth ego, it can't even really reach the self. First, that ego has to be made whole. You come into your own, you individualize. Then you can go beyond. So these are beautiful lines from Sri Aurobindo's Savitri. But there is a guardian power. There are hands that save. Calm eyes divine regard the human scene. Such beautiful lines. But there is a guardian power. Behind everything that happens, there is a power which is your guardian, which is looking after you, which is protecting you. There are hands that save. There are invisible hands that somehow save you. There's somewhere else in Savitri where there's a line, an outstretched hand is felt upon our lives, right? It's talking about the same hand. There are guardian powers, there are hands that save. Calm eyes divine regard the human scene. So we can't see those eyes that are always regarding and watching over us, but calm eyes divine regard the human scene. These lines remind me, we all know of Mother's balcony darshan, right? When she was in her body, she once came to the balcony behind the samadhi, and some people saw her. And the word spread that every day at this time the mother comes. So every day people started gathering, and she would just come barely for a few minutes, and she would intently look at everyone gathered down, pour whatever was needed to be poured in each person, and then go back. And it also reminds me of a story of a young boy. He was about 7 or 8 then, and he'd gone to the Pondicherry Samadhi, and he was very, very mischievous. He would sort of run around, and the parents were wondering how he'd sit still at the Samadhi. And he had this experience where, if you're sitting in the meditation room, you can see this side of the mother's room, the window. So he said he saw an old lady standing at the window looking at everyone at the samadhi intently. She'd worn a bandana, and this boy didn't know anything about the mother, and quite spiritually oblivious at that time. And he saw the mother looking at everyone, calm eyes, divine, regard the human race, even now, even when we don't know it. And then suddenly she saw him, her eyes met his, and she raised her hand in blessing, and then she disappeared into light. And then suddenly he had a flashback of his past life, and he started telling his parents, I've worn black pants, I'm walking around the samadhi with the mother. It must be the time when Sri Aurobindo's samadhi was made and the mother was in her body. And then he wanted to run up the steps to meet the mother. You know, there are steps leading to her room, and of course they won't let him go. And he started fighting, you know, at the samadhi, you take one step wrongly, somebody will come and correct you. So this boy trying to run up, of course he was dealt with how he had to be dealt with. But he started fighting with them that, why aren't you letting me go? Mother's upstairs, I want to go. And then they went away. So yeah, that's just a story. But I shared it to say that even today, this boy had the vision to see her, but her eyes are looking at everyone all the time. Nash? Calm eyes, divine, regard the human race. It's a beautiful thing to keep in mind, that there's something watching over me all the time. There are hands that save. There is a guardian power. But there is a guardian power. There are hands that save. Calm eyes, divine, regard the human scene. Now there's a poem. It's called In Those Eyes. They watched silently as I journeyed along, dust to dust, song to different song. Dust to dust would be lifetime to lifetime, song to different song would be the different phases of our life. Sometimes I'm singing a happy song, sometimes a sad song. They watched me climb, they watched me fall. They watched as I frolicked, oblivious to their call. So sometimes I'm totally ignorant of those eyes, but they faithfully watch me anyways. Starstruck and enamored by the glittering play is the voices of the world, I halted at many trivial haunts along the way. I preened and put on my best, hungry for laughter, prizes and jest. Even when dissatisfied and dejected, I slept forlorn. Those eyes silently gazed on. Now at last, when I finally see those faithful eyes that never stopped watching over me, I care not whether I'm called foolish or wise. I rest enveloped in the supreme prize, the peace of knowing that I'm beautiful in those eyes. So it's lovely to remember that in those eyes I am always beautiful. Remember the story of the Buddha that we did last class? The Buddha's hands that never really part no matter what I do. So whatever I do, I'll always be beautiful in those eyes. I do the worst things also, those hands will do their best to protect me. Of course, there is a law of the world and there'll be consequences for what I do. But whether I face those consequences, whatever, it's so solacing to know that the love I'm seeking from people is available to me 24/7. And that love actually holds me in its gaze 24/7. But I just have to open my eyes and see that it's there, because it's really there for every one of us. So this is a lovely line to the peace of knowing that I'm beautiful in those eyes. when I'm feeling very upset that this one thinks of me like this, that one thinks of me like that, I'm not good enough, but I'm beautiful in mother's eyes, I'm good. Again, Karen Miller's words, your heart is always whole, just as the moon is always full. So we've done this before, but just to recap, in the 28-day lunar cycle, the moon will wax and wane. Sometimes it will appear to diminish, but is it actually diminishing? It's whole, right? It's appearing to be a sliver, half moon because of the play of light. We all know that, but the moon is not decreasing. Similarly, you may appear to diminish in different cycles of your life, in your own eyes, but actually you are always complete and whole. It's just in your vision, the play of light and ignorance, that makes you feel you're now half, you're now a sliver, you're now no moon day. I'm so not there that I feel like nothing, but the moon is still there even on the no moon day, right? Your heart is always whole, just as the moon is always full. Your life is always complete. You just don't see it that way. Just let everything and anything be as it is, without using any kind of standard by which we make ourselves satisfied, dissatisfied, happy or unhappy. So beautiful. If we can do even a little bit of it, just let everything and anything be so as it is, without using any kind of standard by which we make ourselves satisfied, dissatisfied, happy or unhappy. Very difficult to do, but so liberating if we can do that. For example, I have that standard that only if A loves me more than anyone else in the world, I can be happy. So next time I'm in company and A is paying somebody else more attention, I start feeling unhappy because I've created this artificial standard. If I didn't have that artificial standard, I could just enjoy being there. I wouldn't impose that standard that only if this is met, I'll be happy, right? So there's such wisdom in these words. Just let everything and anything be so. Remember our last time's talk was on the inherent perfection, how there's an inherent perfection to everything in life. And if that is so, going back to the metaphor of our movie, at every moment, if I'm just enacting a script written by that director, by that script writer, and that script writer is all loving, all wise, all powerful, then whatever script he's written for me in the moment, it has to be for my good, right? It's part of a progressing perfection. So why should I impose my standard of what my conditioning tells me happiness is? Let me train myself to be happy with what is. That person A is paying B more attention, good, I'm happy. This is also good. But it requires a lot of self-work, a lot of awareness. Every time that negative mental pattern comes up, I need to bring awareness to it. I need to first recognize that this mental pattern is a pattern of ignorance. It's not serving me. What I do is I think that pattern is correct. A is doing me an injustice in paying B more attention. He should just pay me attention when I'm around. When I endorse all that in my mind, I'm solidifying my ignorance and so my pain. But every time those mental patterns come up, if I'm aware of them, if I watch them, if I put a will that, yeah, this mental pattern is not serving me. It has come up many times in the past and it's only made me unhappy, and then I've dumped on people and made them unhappy. So I want to break free of it. That's the first step. To master any movement, first step is to become aware of it. Yeah, aware of it means discrimination, not endorsing it, saying it's right and letting it control you. Am I making sense? Any questions? So, just let everything and anything be so as it is, without any kind of standard by which we make ourselves satisfied, dissatisfied, happy or unhappy. There is a pattern to it all. Just the way there's a lunar pattern, it's appearing no moon, sliver, half moon, but it becomes full moon. So my darkness will slowly follow a pattern and come back to light. But behind the darkness also I am the full moon. It helps to remember that while going through the darkness. There is a pattern to it all, a precise and invisible orbit that brings the full moon round again without fail. So that is the higher control, which executes many patterns but brings the full moon round again without fail. Now these are the mother's words. The art of living would then consist in maintaining oneself in one's highest state of consciousness and thus allowing one's destiny to dominate the others in life and action. So remember, we started class with the metaphor of the movie. When did I say you'll have, if you're an actor in the movie, when will you have control over the situations in the movie? Huh? When you have access to the director. The director, we said, is the higher consciousness, but that higher consciousness is not an alien power. It's you in your highest. Yeah? When we talk about God, we are not talking about a God outside us, and Mother was very clear about this. She always said, I never like to speak about God and His creation. I like to speak about God and His becoming, that He's become creation. So unknown to us, we said there are eyes that watch, calm eyes, divine, regard the human race. Those eyes are in one sense my own eyes, the eyes of my higher consciousness, which I'm not conscious of. But those eyes are watching over the me entangled in the lower consciousness and somehow keeping me safe. So Mother saying that the art of living consists in maintaining oneself in one's highest state of consciousness, that is having access to the director in some way, and thus allowing one's highest destiny to dominate the others in life and action. So one can say without any fear of making a mistake, be always at the summit, the highest point of your consciousness, and the best will always happen to you. We all know that in this recent plane crash, only seat number 11A survived, right? Now, how do you explain this? Obviously, this person, in some way, it was decided that he would survive, right? We don't know his consciousness, but maybe there was something in his consciousness that attracted this grace. Yeah? So, there's a story of Udarji. I think it was Udarji. He was a, for those of you who don't know Udarji, he was very, very close to the mother when the mother was in her body. And he was once on a train. And the train was going to get derailed, and it's like it lifted up, and instead of falling there, it just came back. And you've read this story, Rama, and I've said it. And then Mother later told Udar that because my child was in the train, I had to save the whole train. One person in that consciousness and the whole train got saved, because here the actor was perhaps living from the summit of his consciousness, which Udarji, with his closeness to the mother, obviously must be. See, Ashmi, this is a common question, and the answer is there is a water source. Yeah? All of us are thirsty. Now, if I know that water source exists and I make my way to it, my thirst will be quenched. The water source is there for everyone, but others don't believe it's there. They don't make efforts to reach it, they'll remain thirsty. Right? Does that answer your question? Yeah? Why did those eyes not protect all the other passengers? Why just that one? They are watching over all. It says, calm eyes, divine regard the human race. So this access is available to all. But how much of humanity reaches out to take this access? That's the question. I shall give you an example of how consciousness, a higher consciousness, intervenes. Mother says, a man steps out of his house to go to his office. He goes a certain way. Suddenly he remembers that he has left something behind. He steps back to go and get it. Just then, in the place where he would have been if he had stepped forward, a lead pipe falls. Something in this man's consciousness, by telling him to go back, has saved his life. In this recent plane crash, I think you sent me, no? There was one lady.
Girl, she was missed. She went late to the airport and she missed the flight.
10 minutes
10
late.
minutes late. Yeah.
And she missed the flight. And that was, of course, there must be some intervention that intervened to make her reach 10 minutes late. Something in this man's consciousness, by telling him to go back, has saved his life. That is what we mean when we say that an intervention of consciousness can change destiny. An intervention of consciousness can change destiny. Mother has said it. Grace is greater than karma. Grace is greater than destiny. If you are open to grace, grace can change anything in your destiny. So again, those lines. But there are guardian powers. There are hands that save. Calm eyes, divine regard the human race. In this man, there were two destinies among others, probably. One which wanted him to die and one which wanted him to live. And probably his access to the director chose that he would live. So somebody asked the mother, can't this be called chance? Why are you making it so big? Grace and all this was just chance. So mother replied, no, because chance is something quite incoherent, something that occurs for no reason. And if you believe that life is something incoherent, you still have much to learn. Incoherent is unclear. You can't figure it. Na? It's not clear. So, if you believe life is something incoherent, not clear, that means you feel life is random. Then mother says you have still much to learn, because life is not random and unclear at all. On the contrary, it is quite coherent, clear. Each little thing is exactly determined. And if something makes you feel that it is chance, it is because you know nothing about the determinisms. Determinisms, do you understand the term? What determines the cause-effect chain? So because you don't know that cause-effect chain, you will write it off as chance. But for everything to happen, there are so many determinisms, cause-effect chains that precipitate every occurrence in life. They are completely beyond you, because there are innumerable interweaving laws and you know nothing about them. So if something happens according to these laws, you say it is a miracle or chance. Yeah? This is from Synthesis of Yoga, Sri Aurobindo. A hidden power is the true Lord an overruling observer of our acts, calm eyes, divine regard the human race. So those eyes are the true Lord, an overruling observer. Overruling means all controlling. He rules everything. He's the Antaryami. He's inside everything and controls everything from inside. A hidden power is the true Lord, an overruling observer of our acts. And only He knows, through all the ignorance and perversion and deformation brought in by the ego, their true sense and ultimate purpose. So if I don't know where my life is going, it's okay. He knows. In His knowing, I am safe. So somewhere else, I think in Synthesis only Sri Aurobindo writes, in the final analysis, you need to know only two things. Remember, I say this very often. Who remembers? What are the two things? That you have a soul within and grace above. That's all you need to know. You have a soul within which will keep you whole, and you have grace above which will guide you. That's all you need to know. Rest, if you don't know, it's fine. You're still good. So, a hidden power is the true Lord, an overruling observer of our acts, and only He knows, through all the ignorance and perversion and deformation brought in by the ego, the entire sense and ultimate purpose. There must be effected a complete transformation of our limited and distorted egoistic life and works into the large and direct outpouring of a greater divine life, will and energy that now secretly supports us. So these calm eyes divine secretly are watching over us. But yoga is about becoming conscious of them, reaching out to them and consciously inviting their influence into our life. Am I making sense? So there must be effected a complete transformation of our limited and distorted egoistic life and works into the large and direct outpouring of a greater divine life, will and energy that now secretly supports us. This greater will and energy must be made conscious in us and master. No longer must it remain as now only a superconscious upholding and permitting force. There must be achieved an undistorted transmission through us of the all-wise purpose and process of a now hidden, omniscient, all-knowing power and omnipotent knowledge, which will turn into its pure, unobstructed, happily consenting and participating channel of all our transmuted nature. This delight, which is so entirely imperative, is the delight of the divine for His own sake and for nothing else, for no cause or gain whatever beyond itself. So, Sri Aurobindo says our relationship with God is an evolving one. It begins with, okay, I'm in trouble, please help me out. When I'm not in trouble, I'm not thinking God doesn't exist for me, the worldly life exists for me. But when I'm in trouble, I'll pray. Very often my prayers will get an answer. I'll start believing that there is something that's listening. And over a period of time, when I experience this faithfulness of God in my life again and again, automatically I start developing a love, right? Something that's come to my rescue all the time, even when it's such a one-sided thing. Sometimes I may not do anything for God except pray when I'm in trouble. And yet that power faithfully answers. It doesn't say that only if you put flowers for me, only if you do puja for me, I'll answer you. Not at all. Whether you do or you don't, when you turn to it, it's available to you. So that starts a relationship of love. And eventually the love deepens into something where you want God for God's sake, not for His gifts. So it's an evolving relationship. That's what Sri Aurobindo is saying here. it does not seek God for anything that He can give us or for any particular quality in Him, but simply and purely because He is our self and our whole being and our all. Okay, so now there's this writing. Those of you came to this morning class, it will make a lot of sense to you after our yoga class this morning. It's called The Eternal Dervish. So this poem is talking about life or God intelligence as a dervish. Dervish is somebody who dances. So who's constantly dancing the dance of death, the dance of birth, dying, being reborn, like that. So the eternal dervish executes in ecstasy, because God's whole dance in life is a dance of joy. A swirl of the dance of birth, a whirl of the dance of death. Dying to herself in an eternal death, she remains the perennial newborn. Giving her breath to another, she appears to die, yet lives on as a whirl of the dance of death, a swirl of the dance of birth. So it's saying that this life energy, which we call Jiva, the mantra we did this morning, Jiva Petam. So this Jiva constantly carries one form, breathes life into it, and when the season is over, the Jiva leaves that form and the form dies. It's not just about a physical body. Of course it's true for a physical body, but every emotion is an emotional form, right? Every thought is a thought form. So this Jiva is giving you an emotion. It's dancing as a dance of birth when that emotion is born, and when its season is over, that Jiva leaves that emotion, then that emotion dies, and then that Jiva enters another emotion, another mind state is born, another mind state dies. So if you really understand this, you don't hold yourself responsible or others responsible for your mind states. It's that script writer, it's that Jiva who is constantly creating new emotions in your script, new experiences in your script, and those experiences aren't coming to you because you're bad or the world is bad. They are coming to you as part of this movie that's being created for your liberation and for your growth. Are we clear? Are we somewhat clear? So
who is the eternal dervish?
the eternal dervish is this Jiva, the God essence, which is becoming different forms, birthing as the form and then dying, and then birthing as the next form. And the form is not just the physical body. Even in this physical body, a thought is a form, a thought form, an emotion is a form, an emotion form. I discovered immortality to be the successive execution of the dance of death and dance of birth. Every moment, life energy in me is leaving a form, a thought form, a body form, emotion form, which withers. The same life energy is entering a new thought, body, emotion form, which births. And this goes on eternally. This constant repetition of the dance of death and the dance of birth is the heart of the Buddhist teaching of anicca, or impermanence. The Buddha said this, right? Everything is impermanent. And he said that all human suffering comes from mistaking the impermanent to be permanent. Think of an exception to this. You can't. Every single thing you've suffered from boils down to mistaking the impermanent to be permanent. Can anyone give me one exception to this? Huh?
You said can you say that again?
Buddha said that every single human suffering boils down to mistaking the impermanent for the permanent. You think it will last forever and then it doesn't, you get unhappy. Is there a single suffering in your life which doesn't boil down to this? Nobody can think of it, no, because there isn't. So there's such wisdom in the Buddha's words. So, often when an emotion season is spent, it leaves the being by itself. When life force leaves the moment's emotion, it dies, and the emotion life force enters is born. Are we all together? Yeah? Behind the impermanence of the phenomenal world, there is the permanence of the jiva, the life energy, the God essence, which enters the fleeting quicksilver forms of the moment, yet remains untouched by them, secure in its immortality. So, that which is eternal, the God essence in us, can enter temporary forms unafraid, because it knows it's eternal. It knows it exceeds that form. Even when that form will die, it will live on. Are you with me? So, yet remains untouched by them, secure in its immortality. I am more truly this immortal jiva than the moment's heart-mind state, hence I exceed it. So it's very beautiful whenever you're in a moment of shrinking. Somebody has said something critical to you. It's very beautiful. We'll do the mantra we did in the yoga class this morning. It's a very beautiful mantra. It's beautiful to allow the light of the mantra to remind you that this moment of shrinking will pass. It's temporary. When the jiva leaves it, it will wither away. But the real you is not shrunken. It's carrying the shrinking. It will shed the shrinking and become expansion again. Then it will shrink again. But as it goes through these cycles of shrinking and expanding, it remains itself and whole. The moon that you are is always whole. Any questions?
This jiva is the psychic being that you
This jiva, I would just say, is the God essence, because if you take the form to be the body, then it's the psychic being, because the body will be shed and the psychic. But if you're taking it in this body to be carrying thought forms, emotion forms, then not very accurate to call it psychic being. We could just call it the God essence, the jiva, the prana, the life force, yeah, which is carrying every mind and emotional state, remaining untouched by them and then shedding it. Yeah. So the mantra is, some of you know it, some of you are new to it, Jiva Petam. So Jeev is life force, Apetam is to shed. In Sanskrit, Apetam means to shed. So Jiva Petam Vava. Vava in Sanskrit means truly. Kill means it is said. Kill idam. Idam is this. So truly it is said that when Jiva sheds this is the thought form or the emotion form or whatever else. Jiva Petam Vava Kiledam Mriyate, M-R-I-Y-A-T-E. So when the jiva sheds this emotion or thought form, it dies. Jiva Petam Vava Kiledam Mriyate. Say it. Jiva Petam Vava Kiledam Mriyate Na Jivo Mriyate. So this that is shed by the jiva dies. But the jiva itself is immortal. It exceeds the moment's emotion, the moment's thought. It is what it is in its immortality. Is it clear? So say it again. Jiva Petam Vava Kiledam Mriyate Na Jivo Mriyate. One more time. Jiva Petam Vava Kiledam Mriyate Na Jivo Mriyate. Okay, so now put your hands on your heart, center of your chest, and always make it real by actually thinking of the response of someone to you which makes you shrink, and reminding yourself that this response is not because you are bad or the person's bad, just that this interaction is part of the script written by that jiva, that life force, which has carried both of you to this moment of interaction, giving you an opportunity to expand with the same trigger rather than shrink. Mother says, to give up a desire brings you far more joy than fulfilling it. That interaction may have disappointed a desire for how you wanted the interaction to be. When I'm able to drop that desire, recognizing that whether that desire is fulfilled or not, I am the full moon behind appearances. I am that eternal jiva which carries me through all experiences, sheds experiences and brings me new experiences. I am that stable permanent which constantly carries myself through the changing impermanence. So actually see if you can recognize that that shrinking is a great opportunity to expand, a great opportunity to really know that you are good even if your expectation is not met, even if your desire is not fulfilled, because you are that eternal jiva. The solution to I can't is not I can, but I am. So now hear the mantra once, then we'll chant it together. Jivapetam vavakiletam mriyate na jivo mriyate. All of us. Jivapetam vavakiletam mriyate na jivo mriyate. Jivapetam vavakiletam mriyate na jivo mriyate na jivo mriyate na jivo mriyate. So just repeat these last words, na jivo mriyate. I am not diminished by this interaction. Dying is a sense of being diminished. I remain whole, and I reclaim my wholeness when I give away the desire that the interaction should have gone the way I wanted it to, the desire to be appreciated in a certain way, the desire to be loved the most, whatever it is. I reclaim my wholeness every time I happily give away a desire, not with clenched teeth, not with a sword over my head, but just with the joy of reclaiming who I truly am. That jiva which is whole and complete, my constant companion, the only permanence in the constant flux and flow of life, when I have access to that and live in the company of that, then solitude becomes joy rather than loneliness. Sri Aurobindo's words in Savitri, the soul that learns to live alone finds God. His lonely universe is their place of rendezvous. Hands together in a namaste. Let's end with 3 Oms.